Hey, we are back. I guess we lost signal there. My bad. No idea what happened there. There was a guy near me using a walkie-talkie, so I don't know if that like cut out my cell service or what. So we're still here in the loop. Same tour, picking up right where we left off. Not sure when it cut off, but we are on Wacker in the loop. And we were looking at some of the newest skyscrapers down here. What's up, Sarah? Thanks for welcoming me back. It said internet connection unstable, which it says all the time. But I guess for whatever reason, it just cut off. And I didn't know it. Thank you to Narissa for letting me know. I checked my watch. What's up, Dave? Leandro. Thanks for coming through. Natalie, Benja. So I think it might have cut off back there when I was over the river, but I was showing you guys the entrance to the lobby of the new Bank of America Tower. You can see it's a nice all glass lobby. 110 North Wacker. Hashem says I picked the worst time to start watching. Oh, right when it cut off, I guess.
No, like you've done like you do like a
So this, like I said, this is a brand new building, and it is the tallest skyscraper finished in Chicago in the last 20 plus years. It's a pretty big deal. Now there are a couple going up around the city, one in River North, one Chicago, and then the one on the near west side. Leandro, yes, we are downtown, the Loop. Asha says, right as the live video was no longer live, dang. Yeah, I don't know if it was the dude on the walkie-talkie. I don't know if that signal like interfered with the phone. It must have been, because that's not normal. So we talked about some of the early Italianate architecture and then some of the new contemporary architecture. And now what we're gonna see here is art. And this is one of the finest examples of Art Deco in the city. This is the Civic Opera Building, right on Washington and Wacker. What's up, Ricarda? This is a hybrid building. It's part office building and part opera theater. Now currently the opera is not going on, but it will be returning, the Lyric Opera of Chicago. This is their home. But like I said, this is also an office building. So you've got many companies headquartered right here. I still have yet to see the inside of the theater. Last opportunity I had was Open House Chicago 2019. But we got here a little too late and the line was too long, so we in. Ricarda from Germany. Nicholas, what's up? Glad you're back. Appreciate it. So we got some of the city noises. The interesting thing was there was a security guard with some independent security company wanting to talk with two guys on the same bridge over the river that I was on. They had a tripod and a huge camera. And however, as far as I know, if you're on a public street and sidewalk, you can have a tripod and take pictures or film or whatever. So I don't know what that was all about. But whatever they said to him, I guess it worked because he left. But he thought I was with them, and I think when he used his walkie-talkie, the signal that it put out must have hit my phone or something. Stuff says welcome back. I appreciate it, bro. This is the side of the Civic Opera. And this is the Washington Boulevard Bridge that goes over the South Branch of the Chicago River. And then we can see a nicer view of a couple of the buildings that we talked about earlier, the Boeing building and 150 North Riverside. You can see this part of the Riverwalk for the Bank of America Tower. Ash M asked if I have a favorite spot on the river. Ooh. I don't think I have a favorite spot. I really like the actual main part of the Riverwalk, where you can see the Apple Store, the Wrigley Building, Tribune Tower. If I had to pick a favorite, I guess right now I would pick that spot. Any progress on the clearing tour? Yeah, I'm looking to do it within the next couple of weeks. All right, so I learned something new today that I wanted to share with you guys, something that I've been getting incorrect for about a year or so now. And that is that I've been saying that incorrectly that the Chicago fire of 1871 paved the way for the great architects that we got and the great buildings we got. So architects like Burnham, Sullivan, Holabird, Root, etc. Well, in actuality, after the Great Fire of 1871, the city rebuilt almost immediately. And so the same architects that had designed the buildings that were destroyed worked on designing the same types of buildings. So you had a Chicago in the early 1870s that looked very similar to the one that was destroyed by the fire. One big consequence of the fire, though, was the rush to get fireproof materials more readily available for the new skyscrapers. And so as the Chicago School of Architects began designing these new skyscrapers, older buildings were being demolished. And at that point, they weren't that old. They were probably like 10, 15, 20 years old. Stuff says Chicago 2.0. Exactly. And so that was cool. That was an interesting thing that I read this morning in my Chicago history book. Basically, it said that during that time, Chicago looked like a giant construction zone, which isn't really too far off from what we have today. It seems like there's always construction going on somewhere, and it always takes a long time. So from here we have a really nice view because this is an empty lot. This lot has been empty for a long time. for at least the last 5.5 years, but it probably goes back further than that. Over here you can see though a nice view of some of these buildings that we checked out earlier. So we're gonna head down Washington, and I have no idea what was here before. I would have to search on Google Maps, or maybe Google the address that corresponds to this one. It's either like 299 West Washington, or like 200 North Franklin, or something like that. So just waiting at this intersection, and then we can cross the street and check out one of my favorite buildings coming up. What's up, Ideen? Stuff says nothing there since 2009. Wow. Mikhail, what's up? Hope you're well as well. All right, so earlier in the stream that died, we saw some Italian architecture that I told you was from the mid 1870s. Up here is one of my favorite post-fire buildings in the city. It's a pretty rare survivor of this style of building, and this is Washington Block. This is also a Chicago landmark. It's right here on Washington and Wells, and it is a very ornate Italianate building. Now again, this is what Chicago would have looked like down here in the 1850s, 60s, 70s, before the true Chicago school began emerging. This is also a Chicago landmark. It was heavily restored. But you can see, compared to most buildings down here in the Loop, it's quite small. It's only 5 stories tall. But that's what you had back then, obviously. John says, great content, thinking of moving to Chicago, and this is very informative. Glad to hear. Thank you. So these are the L tracks over Wells Street. What up, Zach? There's the entrance to the station, Washington and Wells. And we're gonna head east to see a couple more on the way to one of the next highlights. I want to talk to you about this singular Art Deco building right here at 175 West Washington. It's a very incognito building. I don't think it has any tenants at the moment. This one's only 3 stories. You can see inscribed at the top there, Chicago Federation of Musicians. See, it's a very plain Art Deco building. I don't know if at one point there was more ornamentation. Over here we have the I Am Temple. This is an interesting one as well. I don't even know how you would classify a building like this, but you can see various symbols up there, like the municipal Y. You can see what looks to be a building. It might be even this one. Service Alces, and the American flag backwards. This tiny Art Deco building, yes. We'll see an even smaller Art Deco building coming up in a couple minutes. Oliver asked a great question. What is my favorite architectural style in Chicago? It has to be a tie between Art Deco and neoclassical. It's hard for me to pick a favorite from those two, but all right, so as we turn onto LaSalle and head south, this is essentially the start of Chicago's financial district, which I don't think we've really explored recently, at least the north part of it. So we have a couple of Art Deco masterpieces right here. Both are Chicago landmarks. This is 33 North LaSalle, and you can see the telltale Art Deco characteristics. You have long windows and vertical columns that emphasize the height of the building. It almost just draws your eyes up the entire time. That's what you call emphasizing the verticality. And then as you approach the ground floors of the building, you can see some of the ornamentation, the reliefs inspired by nature, which is very prevalent in Art Deco architecture. Mr. King says, great place to glide off with a cape. Yeah, why not? I won't be doing that, but. Got a Mojo Coffee on the ground floor. Never actually had that place, so I don't know if it's any good.
Good like.
All right, so as much as I like 33 North LaSalle, this one up ahead is, in my opinion, so much more beautiful, even though it needs some TLC, a little bit of a cleaning. Dean asked if I think the new Tribune East Tower will rival the Sears Tower. I don't think so. That's gonna be mostly condos. I don't think it's gonna have like stuff for people to do, like a food court and a observation deck. Over here is 1 North LaSalle. Premchik says, my favorite Art Deco building is the City Hall of LA. So beautiful. I've actually seen pictures of it. I've never seen it in person, but I definitely have that on my list. So it's cool that you bring it up. Okay, so this is 1 North LaSalle. Why 1 North? Well, because we're just north of Madison Street, and Madison is the 0 point on the north-south axis of Chicago. That would be right there. There's Madison, which is 0. This first building is 1. It probably could have been 10 or 25, but I think the choosing of the address sometimes can be fudged a little bit for symbolic purposes. So 1 North LaSalle was completed in 1930, which is more on the tail end of the height of Art Deco architecture. It began to take off in popularity in the 1920s and kind of went a little bit into the 1930s. Chicago established itself as a capital of this style of architecture that was born in Paris, France. But you'll see skyscrapers like this in Chicago and in New York City. You'll see Art Deco in LA, like Premchik mentioned, and you'll also see it in Miami. The difference in LA and Miami is you're not gonna see these as much, and you're gonna see a different style. LA and Miami Art Deco architecture is much more colorful than what we have here in Chicago. Here we kind of have this limestone color that pretty much dominates these buildings, and sometimes you'll have some brass or copper highlights. It's up LA on 25. Now you can see on 1 North LaSalle the setbacks. And again, this isn't just an arbitrary decision, oh, we think it looks pretty. This was actually required by law. So in the early 1900s, as buildings were constructed taller and taller here in Chicago, you had a blocking off of the sun, and you were creating these really dark and windy places downtown. So basically city officials came together and said, no, the higher you build, the more setbacks you need to allow for natural light to pass through in these corridors. Peter says, enjoyed the collab you did. Appreciate it. I got my version of the video coming to the channel very soon. Now this building was designed by Vidstham and Burns. So KM Vidstham also designed the Hyde Park Kenwood Bank building, obviously in Hyde Park on 53rd Street, which we saw in the Hyde Park neighborhood guide that I put together. Mighty Penguin says, I kind of like the setbacks, adds a little dimension. I agree. I personally love the setbacks myself. It was one of those things that's necessity is the mother of invention type of deal. And now you can see various bas reliefs up here, which looks to be like the 5th floor. Again, they're in serious need of a power washing. And on the ground floor on the entrance, you can see the beautiful golden detailing. It's obviously supposed to signify gold, but it's probably brass, something like that. I don't know the actual material. You also see the Chicago flag as well as the American flag. For those of you that aren't as familiar with Chicago, you will definitely find our city flag all over, much more so than you will see in other US cities. In New York, you're not really going to see the flag that much. In Miami, you're not really going to see the flag that much. But in Chicago, yes. I did an entire video on the symbols of the Chicago flag. If you're interested, it's on the channel. I filmed that on Museum Campus, actually. Now, like I said, this building was constructed in 1930. Well, 1930 is fairly late, right, when you consider how old this section of the city is. Well, if you're interested to know, what once stood on this site was the Tacoma building, designed by Holabird and Roche. And that building in its own right was quite beautiful. So if you're interested, just Google Tacoma building, Holabird and Roche. So we'll come back down here in a little bit. You can see the animated billboard. What up, Brylan? Good to see you, bro. So between Washington and Madison on LaSalle, on the east side of the street, you have this pair of Art Deco beauties. We're passing a divvy station, but up ahead is Chicago City Hall. What's up, Robo Laser Kittens? How you doing? All right, so over here, this takes up an entire city block. This is, like I said, the Chicago City Hall. But this is a 10 or 11 story building. I don't know exactly how tall it is. But it was completed in 1911, designed by Halliburton and Roche. If that name sounds familiar, that's because we just mentioned it. They were also the designers of the Tacoma building, which has been demolished, but now is the site of the One North LaSalle building. So this is, I guess, what you would call the rear of the building, but the design of it is such that every side looks exactly the same, with the exception of the entryways. So construction on this building was started in 1909, as you can see here, and this is a throwback to when they would etch the names of the streets into the sides of the building. You can see LaSalle Street here, Washington Street on this other side. Anno Domini means Year of Our Lord, which is the long way of saying AD. So Chicago City Hall. So up ahead, as you look up top, you can see the various flags. You've got, of course, the American flag, the Chicago flag, as well as we're all one team, we're all one home team. It's kind of like a rallying motto for the city. You can see these road blockers with the Chicago flag imprinted on them. So I'll show you a much better view of the west end of City Hall. You can see the entrances are lovely in their decorations with bas reliefs. Michelle says, job and apartment hunting in Chicago as we speak. Good luck. So this is what you would call a neoclassical building, sometimes referred to as classical revival. And the dead giveaways as far as architectural features would be, the first one is the Greek columns. In this case, these are Corinthian columns, which is the final order of the Greek columns. City Hall looks so heavy compared to everything around it. That's a great point. And the reason why these buildings, these civic and bank buildings were designed like this was because they give off the feeling of permanence, of stability, of strength, magnitude. And the columns actually kind of mask in a way the actual height of the building. Now, personally, I love it when the columns go from the ground all the way to the top. That would have definitely been a sight to behold. However, with that said, this is definitely one of my favorite buildings in the city. As far as, like I said, I like neoclassical design. It's one of my favorites. And at City Hall, obviously, you can do so many things. You can get your birth certificate, you can get married. The mayor's office is here, as well as city council and things like that. Basically, just all types of government functions are going on over here. Now, being City Hall, again, like I said, if you remember, this was completed in 1911, but clearly that doesn't match up with 1837 when Chicago was incorporated as a city. So in fact, this is actually City Hall number 7 here in Chicago. Yep, before this building, between 1837 and 1911, there were 6 other city halls, including one that was burned in the Chicago fire of 1871. I didn't mean to laugh there, but so like I said, this thing. Thank you. What's your name?
Brandon.
Brandon, nice to meet you. You can see the Chicago flags and the American flags that look quite tiny compared to the rest of the building. Yeah, number 7, City Hall. Again, if you just Google like Chicago City Hall, like, and pick a year, like 1860 or 1890, you'll see some pretty cool results. So down this way, down the financial district, you can kind of see the other Art Deco masterpiece on this block, which is the Board of Trade building, aka Wayne Tower from Batman. LaSalle is one of the major streets down here. It's named for René Robert Cavalier de LaSalle, one of the early explorers of this region of the country. Randolph Street over here. What's up, Daphne? I love Chicago. Thank you for this and for your channel. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear. Thank you so much for watching. Now this is what you would call the north elevation of the building, and you can see official city penguin, you can see official city pigeons having a meeting. I think they're discussing the best quality seeds and nuts and grains that they can share with the rest of the bird population. Like I said, you've got Corinthian columns, absolutely beautiful, very photogenic building. Yeah, I can't believe I said penguins instead of pigeons. We're in like the unofficial government section of the city. A place where you've got state government, city government, and county government. A little bit further south, you have federal government. And before we move on to the next highlight of the tour, I wanted to show you something that I just discovered a few days ago. And I'm always saying how I'm constantly learning new things about the city. And I wanted to show you an example of that. So as we cross over LaSalle and Randolph, we're gonna have a small brown street sign, which is the honorary street signs that you'll see in a lot of places. And you can see that it says Honorary John Van Osdol Way. Full name, John Mills Van Osdol. This is something that I just discovered a couple of days ago while I was walking around down here. if you remember from my Italianate post-fire architecture video, John Mills Van Osdol was Chicago's very first licensed architect. And what's more is that he opened up his office, which was the first architectural office in the city, right here. So, don't know why they chose not to use his full name. There's a Mills missing. It's John Mills Van Osdol, but they just went with John Van Osdol. It's like if there was honorary Michael J. Fox Street and they're like honorary Michael Fox Way, you'd be like, who's Michael Fox? We are also in the theater district. You can see the Cadillac Theater right across the street. Officially the Cadillac Palace Theater. What up, Luis Diego? All right, so we're gonna cross back over and take a look at the next highlight on our tour, which may not be around for many years after this, because it's currently up for sale by the state of Illinois. What's up, Samantha? Love your live streams. I appreciate that, Samantha. So this is the Thompson Center, and I wanted to spend a few moments also talking about this building, but also the architect who designed it. So we'll get there in a second. This is currently the home of many state of Illinois government offices. And like I said, it's actually currently on the market. So there needs to be a rally around this building to save it from the wrecking ball. And I think that a building like this is worth saving. So here we go. This is the Thompson Center. Kind of looks like a big spaceship. And this building here was completed in 1985. It is a postmodern building. So postmodern obviously comes after modern. And it starts to experiment with design and color and space. The architect behind this building is Helmut Jahn. And unfortunately, if you haven't heard the news, Helmut Jahn was killed by two cars as he was riding his bike. And this happened just like a week or so ago. Helmut Jahn has several beautiful buildings in the city, including the Board of Trade Edition, and this Thompson Center right here. I was actually thinking about doing a Helmut Jahn architecture walk to honor him in the next week or so. Like I said, this is a postmodern building home to many state government offices. Stuff says reminds me of Pancake Stack. What's up, Anuj? Then you've got this funky sculpture out here right in front of the Thompson Center. This is where you can get your driver's license renewed. It's where I got my driver's license when I moved from Florida. And again, you've got the Chicago flag. Yes, David, thank you for reminding me that Helmut Jahn also designed the United Airlines Terminal 1 in O'Hare. Premchik says, what a tragedy. I agree. And like I said, this building is currently under threat of demolition. It's not a landmark, it's not protected, and it went up for sale by the state of Illinois. Now, if you want to follow the progress or any progress of the story of this building, I would recommend following Preservation Chicago. This is one of their, this made the list of 7 most endangered buildings this year. And it's one of the most unique buildings we have down here. It would be a shame to lose it. All right, so we'll move on. Cross over Clark Street. City Hall. So it's another look at Helmut Jahn's John Thompson Center. Some activity in the city as well. All right, so now we are headed to Daley Plaza, which is one of the more popular plazas in the city. Ricardo says he designed lots of German buildings too. Thanks for that info. I definitely have to look up to see. I would love to see what he designed out there. But his designs are so playful, so shiny. It is definitely a loss for the architectural community and the city. So we're in Daley Plaza now, and this is a giant public plaza in front of the Richard J. Daley Center. You got a fountain, you've got the Chicago Picasso, which you'll take a look at. A lot of open space to hang out. There's a farmer's market that takes place here during the summertime. So you can get fresh flowers, fresh vegetables, sandwiches, live music is played. Hertha asked why would they demolish that for, or what would they demolish that for? It's such a nice building. I think just there's no demolition permit for it yet, but I think just the fact that it's up for sale and it's such a valuable lot, the land is incredibly valuable. So the building doesn't have a huge capacity, and so I think what people think is that whoever buys it may want to demolish it and then build something much bigger with more capacity. And there's City Hall again across the street. So in front of you, you have the Daley Center, as I just said. It was originally known as the Civic Center. And this may remind you of a Mies van der Rohe design building. And that's because it's the same architectural style. However, if you just study if you study this for a few minutes, and then look at an actual Mies van der Rohe design building, you will definitely see the differences. You'll see a lot of similarities as well. What up, Paul? Says, Louis got me ready to pack my things up and move to the Chi. That's cool. Glad to hear it. So this building was completed in 1965 in the International style, sometimes known as mid-century modern. It was a style of architecture that was led by Ludwig van Mies van der Rohe. For 4 years after it was completed, it was the tallest building in Chicago, believe it or not. So from 1965 to 1969, this right here was the tallest building in the city. It is home to government offices. More specifically, Cook County. And like I said, I highly recommend coming down here in the summer because you've got a farmer's market, so you can shop local, eat local, listen to local music, see local artists put on performances. In the wintertime, this is the location of oh, why does it slip my mind? Christkindl Market. Christkindl, I couldn't think of it for a second. So in the wintertime, you've got Christkindl Market down here in Daly Plaza. Boykster 515 says, I love Chicago. Paul asks, when does it get really cold? I would say January to February. Probably the worst of it, or the coldest. This is the Chicago Picasso. This was obviously designed by its namesake, Pablo Picasso. I'm actually reading about Pablo Picasso's life right now. I got a nice fat biography that I'm going through because he's definitely a fascinating artist, one of my favorite artists of all time. Right next to the sculpture, you have the American flag, the county flag, and the city flag. And the city flag is definitely flexing right now. Putting on a nice show. It looks like it's in slow motion, but I can assure you that it's not. This is regular speed. There's a nice view of the Chicago Picasso. You definitely will see this in lots of movies filmed right here in the city, like Ferris Bueller, The Fugitive. And the address of this building is 50 West Washington. There are even more features in this plaza, which we'll get to. Nicholas says, I love the Christmas market down there. Yeah, me too. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait for it to come back this year. Across the street, you have another county building. And then next to it, you have the tallest church in the world. There's some beautiful Gothic details and office building. Or offices. So over here you have the Eternal Flame, and you can tell it's not cold because if it were, you'd have a gang of pigeons around it. The Eternal Flame, in memory of the men and women who have served in our armed forces from the Revolutionary War to present. So this flame is always burning, hence the name Eternal. And we have some pigeon friends that want to join us. These are the oldest domesticated birds in the world. Many people view them as a nuisance, but I don't. That's a male right there. The big one. I think he's searching for his girlfriend. All right. Elian says it's very hot, humid in NYC. So far it hasn't been too hot. I think it's gonna get it up into the 90s in the next few days. Premchik says they understand you. I would hope so, but I never know. I was feeding some of them the other day. I had some cashews on me and they seemed to enjoy that. It drew a big crowd, I tell you that much. All right, so what do I want to talk about? Right here, Block 37. So if you remember earlier in the tour, we saw the Washington block at Washington and Wells. Also earlier, I talked about how Chicago landmarks 99% of the time are protected from demolition. Well, that 1% of the time that they're not was right here. So on this lot, not this particular space, but on Block 37, there was a building called the McCarthy Building. And that looked a lot like the Washington block. You can Google it, but it's kind of hard to find if you search McCarthy Building, Chicago. I'm gonna start bringing some photos with me on the tours, so when I reference things, I can just show you rather than alluding to it. But the McCarthy Building was here, was also an Italianate building of 4 or 5 floors. It was a Chicago landmark. However, it had its landmark status revoked and was demolished. Oliver says, I love that you take your time so everyone can enjoy the whole view. I appreciate that. And also earlier we saw the Chicago Federation of Musicians building, that Art Deco building on Washington that was only 3 or 4 stories. Well, this one right here is even shorter, and it is also an Art Deco building. However, this one is just a ComEd substation. So there are no offices in here, no restaurants, no lobby. It's only a building for ComEd. And John coming through with the $7 super chat. I appreciate it, John. Thank you so much. Says, gotta support this effort. Well done. Do you plan on live streaming other neighborhoods like Logan Square, Pilsen, Wicker Park? I did Logan Square last week. I did Pilsen a couple weeks before that, and Wicker Park also a couple weeks back. So I have all my previous live streams in an archive. So all my Patreon members at Chicago L Train level and higher get access to all the archives. Check it, there's a link in the description that will give you access to that. And my patrons have selected Uptown as the next neighborhood that I go to tour live that I haven't been to already. And thank you for the support, appreciate it. So right here is one of the entrances to the pedway system. So here's the symbol you got to look for if you want to visit the pedway. I don't know what the reception is like down there, so I won't go right now. I'll try it on a separate day. But this pedway is it's a network of underground tunnels and pathways, sometimes above ground, sometimes 1 floor above, that connects various buildings and places in the city, helps you to avoid adverse weather. But in addition to being a bunch of walkways and paths, there are also restaurants, shopping, museums, everything like that down there. So one day we'll go for a tour and we can explore that together. So the Delaware building is up ahead. And the Delaware building is another post-fire Italianate building completed in 1874. Originally only 5 stories. 2 floors were added later. And this is part of the theater district, so you have various theaters in this area like the Nederlander, the Palace, the Goodman, and the Chicago Theater. David says it's crazy. I lived the first 16 years of my life and found out a few months ago about the Pedway. I still haven't really thoroughly explored it, so I'm looking forward to that. There's the backside of the Picasso. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're interested in private walking tours of Chicago, I do offer them. You can sign up through the first link in description below. Now, the Chicago Picasso is extremely famous throughout the world. And I didn't really know that until I went to Rome and went to a museum. And in that museum, they had a Picasso exhibit, a temporary exhibit. And I saw a mini replica of this sculpture. I knew that sculpture is famous all around the world. Pretty cool. So, talked about this yellow building. It's the George W. Dunn Cook County office building. Kind of looks like a waffle. And we're headed south right now on Dearborn Street. And Dearborn Street is named for Fort Dearborn, which was the first government structure completed in the city. Now along Dearborn, right underneath us we have the Blue Line subway. You can see one of the subway station entrances, Washington, right over here. Personally, I love these entrances. I love the look of them. I think they're real classic. I love the blue paint. Honestly, it's perfect. Now, when we're talking about the station itself underneath, that one needs a lot of work. But as we've seen recently, we are getting investment in our public transportation here in Chicago. So I think it's a good sign of things to come. Now, I will quickly address something about the Loop and downtown Chicago in general right now. But like I said, I'll just address it quickly and we'll move on. A lot of restaurants in this area have closed down. Some temporary, some permanent. Obviously, we know why that's the case. Mainly the global pandemic. But I do know that things are on their way back. We're going to be getting lots of new restaurants. I'm constantly reading news articles on new businesses and new restaurants opening all around Chicago. So I'm very, very optimistic for the future. What's up, Darby? Andrew asks, are all the theaters open? Actually, Andrew, currently the theaters aren't open. They aren't running shows. But I think they're going to be opening soon. So we're now at the Chase Tower, which was originally known as First National Bank Tower. Yeah, stuff. Thank you, my friend. You're a beast for watching. I appreciate that. So we just left Daily Plaza, and we saw all the highlights of that. Now this plaza in front of Chase Tower is also significant, and we'll see some public art. Chagall, it's a huge mosaic done by Marc Chagall. There's also a gigantic fountain here. Mighty Penguin says, looks very whimsical. Yes, indeed. We'll take a look near the top. Actually, that's not it. So we'll get a view of the fountain here and the Exelon Plaza. See the Chagall windows over there. Now for a long time these fountains were not on. They usually shut off in the winter. So if there's any sign of summer, it's the fountain. And speaking of fountains, the Buckingham Fountain will be turning on in 4 days. It's one of the largest fountains in the world and one of the great landmarks of Chicago, designed by Edward Bennett. And will be opening or turning on very soon. Michael asked, what's that mural? That's the Chagall mosaic, Four Seasons. Nicholas says, what a perfect day to be downtown. The weather is beautiful. I'm eating an RX bar real fast. I probably will have to get some coffee soon. I usually have my coffee midday. I will be right back. All right, we are back and about to restart our tour. Just getting a tiny bit of water. To the lower level of the plaza. And from there, we can look up way high to see the top of the tower. You can still see the Chagall mosaic. This is a closer look at the beautiful fountain. There's to Monroe Street. And from here, you can get a great view of the building. You can see the curves as the building ascends. It's a really, really unique looking structure. Up ahead, you can see that small restaurant, Italian Village. They're celebrating 90 years. It's one of the few old school places that you'll find in the city, in the Loop actually. They've been around since the 1920s and they claim to be Chicago's oldest Italian restaurant. Oh, I don't think I showed the clock tower. Ash says get sponsored by RX Bar. That'd be great. I had a banana chocolate walnut just now. For those of you that don't know, longtime viewers will know this. The first that you see on the clock refers to First National Bank, which is the bank that built this tower. They no longer exist. And it's now a Chase building. All right, so we're gonna head a little bit west to Clark Street. Oh, we got a nice truck full of flowers and stuff like that. Cool stuff. Ibrahim from California, what's up? We're at the corner of Clark and Monroe. Up ahead we have a Walgreens pharmacy and people not respecting the crosswalk. It's the honorary Italian Village restaurant way. Alright, so we looked at a couple of Art Deco buildings earlier, and up here you have the Field building, named for Marshall Field. So you have a lot of stuff named Field in Chicago, including the museum, this tower, and another building, the Marshall Field and Company building. This stands on the former site of what many consider to be Chicago's first skyscraper, or the first skyscraper in the world, which was the Home Insurance Building. Now that building was a lot smaller, so it actually wasn't on this side of the street. Gorga says including Soldier Field. That one's not named after him as far as I know. It's just a coincidence. So the field building, which was previously the Bank of America building, has this really lovely entryway on the west end and the east end of the buildings, and a beautiful two-story arcade. I highly recommend walking through that one. I won't go with this whole setup because sometimes in these buildings, the second they see you with something like this, they come and yell at you. It's probably the most exciting part of their day too. This is Revival Food Hall, and we work inside the National Chicago, which is one of Daniel Burnham's final buildings. Yes, you can see the neoclassical elements with the Corinthian columns. These, however, are very short columns, only about 3 stories high. We'll get a better look at this building in a few minutes. So I'm going to get some coffee, an espresso, and I'm gonna take you guys with me. I may have to turn off the microphone if there's music playing, but we shall see. So we're gonna go inside Revival, and we're gonna get a nice coffee. Let's go. All right, we got copyrighted music, so I gotta mute. All right. So I got my espresso, and we're gonna head somewhere I can sit and enjoy it real quick. We got a lot more architecture to talk about. Mighty Penguin says cool shop. Yeah, I highly recommend coming to Revival Food Hall. You're gonna find a lot of local restaurants here, as well as that cafe, which is really nice. You got Mindy's hot chocolate in there. You got Minahasa, which is Indonesian food, which is, I think it's one of the only Indonesian restaurants in the area. I felt a drop of rain right now. I don't have the umbrella on me, but I think we'll be okay. All right, so this gives you another view of the National. Right next to it is the Marquette building. And there's actually a passageway in between these two buildings. And a secret museum inside the Marquette building, which is probably closed at the moment, but you know how it is. So it looks like they've got some of this fenced off. Not sure what is going on, but there's still a pretty decent seating area. John just joined the membership. Appreciate it, John. Welcome. Gaming Aaron says, beautiful. Stuff says we're probably going to the Flamingo. Yes, that would be right. We'll be hitting there next. So let's see if I can do this quick coffee review. Hot. All right. Here we go. We're sitting in Federal Plaza now. So we've hit Daily Plaza and such. So this is just a little cup of espresso and a napkin, you know, just in case. All right. I didn't get sugar, but that's okay. I'm not gonna be able to really show you that, but this is a double espresso that I ordered from the Revival Cafe. It's typically what I get when I'm out and about. I like the lattes and things like that, but you know, it's a lot more to drink, and this espresso is just a nice quick shot. Kind of like a smoky dark chocolate flavor to it. It's kind of acidic, not bitter though. I can already feel it. Espresso hits me fast. I felt a couple of drops. I guess it's supposed to drizzle. What's up, Chris? Ash says straight espresso guy. Stuff's not a massive coffee guy. I also really like tea, but the thing with tea is it's not quite strong enough for something like this. All right, that was a solid espresso. Woo! Nice little jolt of energy there. All right. Stuff once tried iced coffee, was confused. Wow, that was good. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is Federal Plaza, and like I was mentioning earlier, I'm gonna start to bring photos with me on the architecture tours so I can show you for reference. But this was the former site of the Federal Building in Chicago, which was a beautiful neoclassical building. that stood here for many years. Saw Brian. That federal building was demolished to make way for the set of Mies van der Rohe designed structures. These are really, really beautiful. And in this plaza, you have Alexander Caldwell's Flamingo. This is a really popular spot for pictures, for grammars, for skateboarders, for office workers to chill. This plaza also has a farmer's market, though not as big as the one in Daley Plaza. You can see Caldwell's signature, as it were, 1973. And you can see the view from below is stunning as well. The Klozinski Federal Building is on your right, and the McKinley Dirksen Courthouse is up ahead. Now, these are all very stereotypical Mies van der Rohe mid-century modern buildings. And that's why this Flamingo is so perfect, because Mies buildings are very grid-like. They have a lot of right angles. They're extremely symmetrical, nondescript. Mies van der Rohe's slogan was less is more, or motto, whatever. So this Flamingo is perfect because it's curvy, it's colorful, it's playful, it's non-symmetrical. So it is a perfect contrast to the mid-century modern buildings around it. Klozinski Federal Building right around here. You also have another entrance to the Pedway and the entrance to the Jackson Street red line and blue line stops up ahead. So here's the plaque. Alexander Caldwell. From here, you can get another amazing view. Dinah asked, how tall would you say? I would guess 25 feet? 25 to 50 feet, somewhere there. All right, so from here, we can see lots of different buildings. Starting on your left, you have the Wintrust Bank Building, also known as the Central Standard Building. You have the Sears Tower right after that. All right, Ashem, good luck at work. Right here you have the Bankers Building, an Art Deco building with a brick facade, extremely filthy. At the moment, I'm sorry to throw it under the bus, but come on. That needs a little bit of a spruce up. A painting or something. But you can see the setbacks of that Art Deco building. It's very similar to almost like the Board of Trade building, very similar shape. A lot of Art Deco buildings will have that shape. Moving further to the right, you have the Field building once again. Beautiful building, emphasizing the verticality, the height. You have the thin, very slender windows and columns that draw your eyes straight up. And next to that, you have the National, one of Daniel Burnham's final designs. You can see the arches on the top, a lot of beautiful reliefs and sculpture into the side of the building. Next to that, you have the Marquette building. Considered the quintessential example of Chicago school architecture. Coming back to closer to us, Jalen says, are you near Union Station? It's probably like a 15-minute walk from here. What's up, M. Taylor? Boykster says you should make a 360-degree video. Yes, Boykster, I have a few. I have a couple on this channel and a couple on my second channel, and I will be definitely doing more of those. I'm gonna try to do a live version too. Brian says, it's amazing how well you are at describing the city. True talent, my friend. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. It's really nice. And these Mies van der Rohe design buildings are on a grid. So if you look down here, these aren't just arbitrary lines. This is an actual grid. So it looks like graph paper from above. Even these little columns perfectly fit on the intersection of lines. What's up, BK from Germany? Everything lines up in this plaza. You can see this planter perfectly within a column. The Federal Post Office, by the way, where I got my passport, lines up perfectly on Van der Rohe's grid. So Premchik, I made a second channel where I have some of my food reviews from TikTok. I also have some silent walks and bike rides. So it's not going to be anything narrated. It's just going to be like bonus stuff that I happen to do. So I don't have it linked yet onto my channel. I need to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so headed back west. We'll take a closer look at a couple of these buildings, including the Central Standard Building, which has a beautiful lobby, by the way. So first we'll take a look at the Bankers Building, which was the original name. It's now known as the Clark Adams. Diana says, things you wouldn't even know when just walking through. Great info, Lewis. Appreciate that. Charles said the lobbies of these buildings are also amazing. I would like to see you enter some and show the marble work. Yeah, I would love to. We'll see how that goes. Sometimes they get a little ornery when you come in with a camera. Hey, Bass Boosted Teen, good to see you. What up, Gary Clemens? Look at that font. United States Post Office. I love that font. Oh, Low Key Luxurious posted a link to my second channel. Thank you very much. Here's the Clark Adams as it's known today. Built in 1927, designed by the Burnham brothers. So this building right here with the arches and the lions and the Greek columns, that was designed by Daniel Burnham. This building right here was designed by his sons. See the beautiful setbacks, the very filthy facade. Let's take a look at some of these details. You can see, I guess they're dual atlases. You can see the view of North America as well as the year. And you've got various bas-reliefs inspired by nature, which is very typical of Art Deco buildings. So you've got that kind of contrast. You have a lot of 90-degree angles, square, flat design, setbacks, vertical lines, but this is contrasted with the floral and otherwise nature-inspired designs on the rest of the building. Usually the lobbies of these are pretty beautiful too. There's a view of the backside of the Standard Building, a view of the Central Standard Building from the rear. You can see that Wintrust flag flying proudly. Wintrust is Chicago's bank, apparently. They advertise with the Sox, with the Cubs. Back in the day, local banks were a bigger thing. Hey, there's an electric skateboard rider. You love to see it. Oh, by the way, Native Foods Cafe is right across the street. Now, I'm not a vegan. I'm not a strict vegan or anything, but I do enjoy vegan meals from time to time. This place is pretty good. It's not a local restaurant to Chicago, but at the same time, it's not some giant chain. But yeah, it's pretty good. I've eaten there a few times. Base Boosted Teen, yeah, it's been a while since you've been to the live. Thanks for coming by. You look fresh in a mask, it says. The city's been advertising Navy Pier a lot too lately. So this will give us a nice look at the field building once again. You can see a part of this building in Home Alone 2. I'm gonna talk about that in a couple minutes. But like I said, this was a former Bank of America tower. They had a gigantic Bank of America flag flying off that flagpole. It must be in storage now. It still says Bank of America building, so I don't know if they still own that name or what. Laren says mask ad, then shows an ad for alcohol. Pretty much sums up what people wear during the day at work and then do when they get home. Yep, that's true. A look at Corinthian College. You can see it evokes the same type of vibe as City Hall, except these columns are nowhere near as big as the City Hall ones. And like I said, the Revival Food Hall at the bottom, as well as Paper Source, which is like a craft greeting card store. So as we cross the street, we can take a closer look at some of the details here on what is now referred to as the Clark Adams building. You can also see a nice wide shot of the Mies van der Rohe buildings. Klozinski, Dirksen, and the post office. Really beautiful. It's an ad for DePaul University. All right, so here we can get a little bit of a closer look. Couple of droplets of rain, nothing serious yet. Madge Life from Houston, what up? There's a corner view. And we'll walk across the street again. So when you cross the street and take a closer look here, you can see some of the beautiful Art Deco details from the window frame. Yo, our kid with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, our kid. Great to see you again. I really appreciate the love. can see also these details here. This is layers. Those aren't just carved lines, those are actual layers. They're thin layers, but layers nonetheless. Then you've got the Art Deco font, 102. You got Adams Street and Clark Street engraved onto the side. This kind of gives me vibes of like Rockefeller Plaza, because it's also a huge Art Deco building. Like I said, it still says Bank of America here. Keegan, moving to Chicago very soon, extremely hyped. I'm gonna see if I can walk through this lobby real quick to give you guys a view. I'm gonna be super incognito. How you doing? Hey. No, I'm just passing through. No, I'm not filming. No, I'm just walking. It's raining outside. I was just walking to get to the other street. Yeah, see what I mean? It's the most exciting part of the day to tell somebody anytime they see a camera. And I'm not filming anything. There's no film in this phone. So that was a look at the lobby, the arcade of the Field building. Here's the landmark plaque, designed by Graham Anderson, Probst & White. It took 6 years to build this one. And only 1 month to hire a cranky security officer. I know it's their job, but I mean, give me a break. With all the things that are happening in the world, like, give me a break. So here at LaSalle and Adams, what's up, Deming? Brian. Myrna says, well done, sir. SN says, good one. Yeah, Laren, didn't get to let a guy cut through. It's ridiculous. I think you're about to say, sir, you can't film me. I'm too ugly to be shown on camera. I can see if I'm sitting there lingering, but I was literally just walking through. Ah, Myrna says I'm a closed circuit cam, so guards have to CYA. That makes sense. This is the Rookery building. This is one of the crown jewels of Chicago architecture. This was designed by Burnham and Root and is the oldest surviving skyscraper in the city. This is the front of the building. The Rookery has appeared in several movies, including Home Alone 2 and The Untouchables. It also made little cameos in the Batman movies, though it wasn't featured. It was just kind of on the side in the background. AP says some security guards are like dogs, mostly sleeping, but then something passes by, they're like, oh snap, barking. Oh man. So you can see the beautiful archway that leads into the inside of the Rookery building. Those two attachments that you see above the arch once held a big awning. And if you look at old arches of the Rookery, you will see a lot of awnings on these windows. They were removed later. It's a very eclectic style of architecture. Several different influences, including Moorish, Romanesque, Richardsonian Romanesque. You can see the columns near the bottom. Diana says this building is a rare bird, very unique. Absolutely. Has a beautiful lobby that was designed in part by Frank Lloyd Wright. You got a US Bank in there right now, as well as several other companies that have offices. Fun fact, I used to work in the Rookery as well. It's beautiful on the inside, as well as beautiful on the outside. It is the full package when you're talking about buildings. So like I said, the Rookery was designed by Burnham and Root, who had their offices on the top floor. This is also the building where the 1893 World's Fair was planned. The Rookery offers tours done by the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. Now keep in mind that Frank Lloyd Wright only did a redesign of the lobby. And even after he redesigned it, one of his disciples, Drummond, redesigned the redesign and added Art Deco elements. So the lobby of the Rookery has been renovated at least 3 times. The original lobby of the Rookery was designed by John Root, and it was a very metal work, iron look to it. Frank Lloyd Wright brought his prairie style, and then William Drummond brought in a little bit of Art Deco. So we can cross the street to check out the City National Bank and Trust Company building. Not the original name of the building, but this is also a classical revival or neoclassical style of architecture. You've got Doric columns, ornate entrances. This is now a luxury hotel. I believe it's a 5-star hotel. It's a Marriott. I've been inside, but I haven't stayed here. It's a great location though. So out here in the middle of the street, you can see a unobstructed view north up LaSalle, and then when you turn around to look south, you've got one of the most famous views of Chicago, the Board of Trade building, Federal Reserve, and the Central Standard building. Base Boostine says, crazy how you have 8K subscribers and I found you when you had 300. Yeah, this channel has grown fast thanks to you guys. Appreciate that. A lot of great support. You can see the Wintrust building here with its ionic columns. This was home to a different bank years ago, not Wintrust. So if you look at old pictures of this building, you will see a completely different name. Our kid says 10K coming. I agree. This is the Federal Reserve Bank building, and you can see the beautifully intricate doors. And then when you look up, you see these Corinthian columns. These columns look to be about 4 or 5 stories tall. This building is currently closed, and it's home to the Money Museum. But the Money Museum is also closed. There's Compass on the sidewalk. Up ahead is Wells Street, and you can see an L train just passing through. Over here at 175 West Jackson, we have another classical revival building. More ionic columns. A clock. Pine Rocks just subbed, my favorite city. Appreciate it. Diana says, I'm relatively new and love these walking tours, so I'm so happy to hear that, Diana. Base Boostine says, I can say I am an OG Golos Gusto subscriber. Hector, what's up? And Rajesh from India, how you doing? You can see as you go up, you have another set of columns near the top of the building, as well as a beautiful cornice. And then you turn west and can see the Board of Trade building. This is another building that if you dare to pull out your phone to take a picture in the lobby, they will yell at you so fast you won't know what hit you. Which is a shame, because this is a building, these buildings belong to the city, belong to the people. Guess who built them? Nice view of the Board of Trade. So you can head west toward Wells. Base Boosted Teen says you can since it's public property. So these are the Wells Street L tracks. And that's the Quincy station right there. Can't enter from this area. Here comes a train. Hey, what's up, Pauline? Says congrats on the 8K. Finesse that like button. Thank you, Pauline. We're actually almost to 9K. Probably hit 9K by the end of the week, and then hopefully 10K before the end of the month. So these are a couple of we'll check out some of the buildings on the outskirts of the loop, stuff that we haven't checked out too much. Here at 209 West Jackson, you have a red brick building, not super tall, not particularly noteworthy, but still fits in nicely. It's home to Luke's, which is a great place for beefs and Chicago style hot dogs. Federico says, beautiful Chicago. This is a true Chicago school building though up ahead. This is the Brooks building. Also a Chicago landmark. And this one is currently awaiting some tenants. You can see the top is beautiful in its intricate design. So this building was completed in 1910, designed by Holabird and Roche. And right across kitty corner, or catty corner, however they say, Sears Tower. And if you love the Sears Tower, I have some great news for you. Look out tomorrow because I will have a video on the Sears Tower that I think you're really gonna love. I got some excellent footage of this building. Footage that you don't often normally see. And they're doing some construction. Over there. So, the lobby, the ground floor of the Sears Tower recently underwent a huge renovation. And now it is the home to several restaurants. There's a big food court. So you've got Sushi-san. I forget what else they had in there. I just saw it this weekend. But then you got a nice art installation on the outside. Stuff says footage of it being built. Only if I could go back in time would I get that. So of course Sears Tower is home to the Sky Deck and the Ledge. Tallest building in Chicago. Let's see if we can even see the top from here. Kinda. We have to take a long walk. So right from here, from this little plaza, you can see a nice view of the Brooks building. You can see some of that detail at the top. Behind that, you have the Board of Trade building with Series at the top. So as you move back, you can start to see more of the tower. Yes, there are pictures of it being built on Google Images for sure. So the Sears Tower was completed in 1973. Sometimes you'll read 1974. For about 25 years, it was the tallest building in the world. Yes, the world. You can see the spires. If you don't include the spires at the top, the building is about 1,300 feet. It's comprised of several towers together. It was designed by the architectural firm Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, led by Bruce Graham and Fazlur Khan. It is an icon of the city. I mean, what more can I say except keep it locked for my video. Up ahead, you have a building that's technically not in the Loop. It is the near West Side, but that's the old post office. And in there, you've got a brand newly renovated office building with a beautiful rooftop, complete with a garden, basketball court, tennis courts. It's an Art Deco building. Yes, another Art Deco building in Chicago. This is one of the capitals of Art Deco. And what's interesting about this one as well is you have an expressway that passes right through it. So you have the 290 expressway, also known as the Eisenhower, that passes right through the building. You may remember this one from The Dark Knight. It was the bank that Joker and his homies robbed at the beginning of that movie. They filmed outside and in the lobby. The lobby is also a landmark. So it was restored recently to its original appearance. It's beautiful. You can see all the post office details. So right here, we are basically at the southwestern corner of the Loop. Beyond this, you get to the near south side. And if you look up, you can see two super tall buildings with extreme contrasts.
I'll text you, but if I make this train.
Rebecca says, great tour. We're coming for a visit in June. Nice. Glad you're enjoying the tour. Thank you. You can see off in the far distance, that is Essex on the Park, that tall glass building out there. So we are walking down Van Buren, talking about the Loop. We have several streets that originate here that are named after US presidents. Washington, Madison, Van Buren, etc. as you get to this southern end of the loop, it's extremely hostile to pedestrians and cyclists. Premchik asked what style is the Sears building. Some call it modern. I just go with, like, yeah, modern architecture, which mid-century modern around that time. Built, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s was all about modern style. What's up, Kyle? Smargas MC. Moises, what's up? So up ahead, you'll see the corner of Van Buren and Wells, where you have the southwestern corner of the Loop L tracks. Cassandra, good afternoon. What's up? I've talked about this before. Well, here's an alley, by the way. I walk straight down the alley to get to Jackson. Cassandra says the best tours, hands down. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Glad you're liking the tours. I got Uptown coming soon. I'm working on that one right now. And I'll also be doing Clearing, which is near Midway Airport. Smarga says, I was doubly happy because I knew that I would also watch, but then I remembered that an hour earlier I'd offered my girlfriend an evening bike ride. But you can always come back and watch later. Appreciate it. All right, so you can see the L tracks in all their glory. And then here you have, this used to be a Greek kitchen with a nice rooftop. Mr. Galame says Lewis is the best. I appreciate that. Kenneth asks, has Navy Pier reopened? Yes. So over here we have a few more older buildings that survive, probably mostly because the values of the land over here aren't so high like they are in the rest of the loop. But this is the Vogue building. You can see the Chicago School windows. And then right across the street you have the Dixon building. There's that 175 West Jackson that we saw earlier. This is the Chicago Fire Department Engine Company #1. Yep, this is #1. If you were ever looking for it, here it is. Sandra says, hit that thumbs up for many more tours. Yes, please. Thank you. See, it's getting a little windy. We had a little bit of a drizzle, but nothing major. Nothing that's going to make me stop the tour or anything like that. So earlier we talked about the Thompson Center and Helmut Jahn. Well, this is another Helmut Jahn design building. This is the addition to the Board of Trade building. And you can see it evokes similar vibes as the Thompson Center. We're gonna go take a closer look at that one. This was Cactus Bar. It was a really fun bar. We used to go there after office hours. Sadly, they have closed as well. Here's a nice view of the L tracks. Yeah, we gotta wait to cross the street so I can look up again. Cassandra says I'm trying to be this confident when I vlog out here. I'd be nervous, people staring. Yeah, it comes with the territory, Cassandra. I just say, you know, just don't worry about what people might think. Most of the time, to be honest, they're just curious about what you're doing or who you might be with. Most of the time I find that people, you know, they don't have that attitude like think you're weird. They just like, oh, what are they filming for? So this is the Helmut Jahn designed Board of Trade edition. You can see different colors of glass, playful type of design. There's also a bridge that connects it with the stock exchange. So this was actually the second design that Helmut Jahn put together for this building. Miss Lizzie says, just past our building, we were screaming your name, LOL. So Helmut Jahn originally designed something much different. There's an L train. And if you want to see his original design for this building, just go to the near west side to the train station and you'll see it. We'll check it out in a future tour. Kyle says you're gonna have to do a beach guide this summer. Yes, definitely. For sure, I would love to do that. So you can see the lobby to the Board of Trade edition right across the way. Really lovely. There's also the entrance to one of the worst L stations, the LaSalle Van Buren station. It is in serious need of renovation. Very, very old. Quite funny. And we are walking east on Van Buren. It's the Chicago Board of Trade. And there is the symbol of the Board of Trade, because that is what the trading floors look like. This was one of the locations for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Bonivino Pizza. Another old school spot since 1967. Maybe we'll have to visit here one day. Got some cool signs here. Skyride Tap, Bonivino, and then Americana Submarine, my bad. Across the street is the MCC. It is a federal prison designed in the brutalist style. It might be the most gorgeous federal prison that you'll ever come across. Here comes one of the tourist traps of Chicago that I talk about, the big bus. I highly recommend avoiding the big bus tours and recommend taking one of my walking tours. All right, so we're walking by original Chinatown. This was once home to Chicago's first Chinese population. So you had Chinese restaurants and Chinese laundry. Those were the two biggest businesses that Chinese immigrants got into in Chicago. Not just in Chicago, but other big cities. And when you hear laundry, it kind of makes you think, do a double take mentally, right? Because we take it for granted now that it's so easy to do laundry, but back in the day it was a big production. It was pretty difficult to do laundry. There goes the big bus, double-decker. Jacob says, big fan of the channel, glad I was finally able to tune in for a live stream. Thank you, Jacob. But there you go, some of really the only remaining buildings from Chicago's first Chinatown. And then you got hella divvy bikes right here. Chicago Stock Exchange. And then down there you have Printers Row. Chris says, I remember taking the big bus in London and walking was faster. So we are currently walking down Ida B. Wells, formerly known as Congress Parkway. It becomes Congress again once you get out of the heart of the loop. And this is Federal Street right here. More alley than street, but across the way you have a loop outside of the Italianate ones. You can see the Monadnock, the Fisher, the Old Colony, the Plymouth, and the Manhattan. Yes, Manhattan as in New York. You can see the owl and the big decorative wing on the Harold Washington Library. So we're gonna take a closer look at the Manhattan Building, completed in 1891. Yes, it's quite old. On the bottom floor you have my favorite Chicago streetwear brand, Juggernaut. You have Funk's Barbershop, highly recommended, and a Hero Coffee Bar. If you look up, you can see the Manhattan. Hello, Christina. Kyle says, I can't get over the gas prices. It's insane. If you take a close look underneath the bay windows, you can see some faces. Very dramatic faces. The Manhattan Building is the oldest steel frame skyscraper standing in the city. It's not the first one ever built, but the oldest one that survives. It's taller than the Rookery. And is now an apartment building, even though once it was an office. So we're gonna take a closer look from the sidewalk. Kyle says, I miss having enough hair to go to a barber shop. Sorry to hear that, Kyle. G Blazer asked, when am I gonna start doing walk-in person tours in person? I do them now. Check the first link in my description. Carl says, off topic, but wow, it's been amazing to watch you grow from 500 to almost 10K. All love and support. I appreciate that, bro. Pablo says, love the vids, live in Houston, but grew up in Chicago. Vids have helped me convince my wife to move back home with me. Wow. Oliver says, is there much neo-Gothic? Yes, we'll see one in a second too. So if you look up here, this is the Manhattan building at 431 South Dearborn. Now let's look up. See those faces? Look at that. Those faces are always watching. We have Juggernaut here. Chicago everywhere is their motto. And they have some branded clothes right there. One of my favorite streetwear brands here in the city. Oh, Poke Burrito, still open. So if you ever had a poke or sushi burrito, that's what it is. It's actually pretty good. Coming to the Plymouth building, which was once home to a university. It's now apartment buildings as well. And then the old Colony building, another office building converted into apartments. Oh yeah, from here I forgot, you can see a really nice view of the Sears Tower, the Board of Trade, and the Federal Prison, MCC. You got an e-scooter rider. Always love to see it. Mr. Gillame, yes, that's the Federal Prison, that brutalist triangular building. It's Metropolitan Corrections, something. It's the old Colony building. Again, this one is now an apartment building, but for many years it was an office building. AP says that Taco Bell was fancy looking. I guess it is. It's a cantina. What's up, Sahil? The Monadnock building is here. It's actually two buildings in one, designed in different years and by different architects. Fisher City Apartments in the Fisher Building are here. This is a neo-Gothic building, sometimes referred to as collegiate Gothic, but Gothic nonetheless. Kyle says fancy on the outside, same old trash on the inside. There's a really nice view at ground level. You can see the children riding fish. It's a play on the surname Fisher. This building has lots of aquatic streams on the facade. Look straight up, you can see. Now keep in mind, all these buildings were here before the L tracks. All right, the Monadnock is up ahead. and I'll show you where it's two different buildings. But here's the Fisher Building, completed in 1868 by D.H. Burnham and Company. Although it was, I believe Atwater was the architect who mainly worked on this one. So here's the Monadnock. It's got a north section and a south section. So here's the divide between the two buildings. Can you see it? It looks like one building at first glance, but it definitely is not. This was the first section of the building built, and this was the southern addition built a few years later. You can see as you move across the two different buildings that are now considered one, the Monadnock. AP says I might set a record for most miles. Our kid says I did a 6-hour tour one day. Yeah, about a week or so ago, went for 6 hours. Then another time I went for like 5 something. That was fun. So there you see the two different buildings that combine as one to form the Monadnock. Oh, across all the walks. This is the subway entrance for the Jackson Blue Line. K Chan, what's up? Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Appreciate the support. See, there was a 7-Eleven here. They're about to reopen. And then Fisher City Apartments. Across the way you can see Old Colony. I love Chicago, yes. How's it going?
Free donut?
Free donut? Yeah, sure. You guys
I
are
got
closing.
lavender vanilla. I got a shortbread, jelly filled, and a sea salt chocolate.
Sea salt chocolate.
There you
Appreciate
go,
it.
man. No doubt.
Have a good one.
For sure.
Cool, I got a free donut from Dollop. So you can see on the eastern elevation of Fisher Building, you can see that it looks exactly the same. Got the donut. Jacob says free donuts Chicago is awesome. Ooh, this looks good too. Chocolate, sea salt. Trying to get you a good look. Good. Now there are a couple of buildings down here that I need to gather info for. This one that has the Plymouth Restaurant and Bar is one of them. 327 South Plymouth Court. And then this one here at Jackson between Dearborn and Plymouth. Good night from Egypt. Ali B with the super sticker. Much appreciated. Thank you, Ali B. See the Garrett popcorn over here. Chicago's famous popcorn stands. This building is only about 5 stories tall. Nice cornice. Some Chicago windows at the 2nd level. So if we head east on Jackson, we're gonna get close to some college campuses like the UIC Law School, DePaul University, etc. Steven, thank you for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Thank you, Ali B and Steven. Appreciate that. Thank you. So we made it to State Street. This is one of DePaul's main buildings over here. It was once a department store. Rothschild, I believe. DePaul is now the owner of this building, and this is a big part of their Loop campus. So we'll wait to cross State Street. Over in the distance, you can see the Harold Washington Library. There's the Richard M. and Maggie C. Daley building. Obviously not the original name. But you can see it has some ornate detailing. This is also a DePaul University building. This is the DePaul Center here. Class of 202. Steven says, appreciate all of your uploads, brother. We'll be out there with my wife in June, and because of you, know where to go and what to avoid. I'm glad to hear that, Steven. Thank you for the love. I'm gonna try to polish off this donut. Would have been nice to have it with my espresso. right, we are back. So this was completed in 1912 as the Rothschild building, designed by Halliburton and Roche. Renamed Goldblatt in 1936. Currently home to DePaul University. Right next door is the law school for DePaul. John says I'm gonna need another coffee to chase that donut. Laren says, I almost thought the video was frozen, but then I saw a car drive by. Here's a nice retrospective of all the DePaul Loop campus buildings. All very lovely in their own right. Little campus map as well. So right here we're on State Street now. State Street began as an Indian trail.
Walk sign is on for all crossings. Walk sign is on for all
It
crossings.
was once known as the Vincennes Trail. The entrance to the Jackson Red Line station. Hey Rebecca, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it, Rebecca. Thank you. Ella says, I love how long your live videos are. Can't get enough of the city. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. There's a nice view looking south of State Street. You can see the Dirksen Courthouse right here, and this Art Deco, Art Moderne building right here. Supposedly it's been renovated recently, but I don't know, it's very nondescript. I wonder who's in there. Got the view headed north on State toward Adams. State Street is one of the city's main shopping districts, currently undergoing a revitalization. There's the Adams Wabash station, another old one in need of a restoration. Kyle asked a good question. In Lakeview, they shut down Broadway for a couple blocks and the restaurants sprawled out on the street. That has started during the pandemic, but there have been a lot of talks to bring that back on a more permanent basis. So this summer, this section of State Street actually is going to be shut down for 12 Sundays for Chicago Al Fresco, and it's going to be the same deal, restaurants and shopping, little festival basically for 12 Sundays. Here's a very narrow building. Ali B says, thanks for bringing my city straight to Germany. Happy to do it. Over here you have the Womanish exhibit, which is, I guess, an interactive pop-up museum. If anyone's been, let me know. Kyle says that would be a great thing to do every week post-pandemic. Yeah, I totally agree. That's what the city needs more of, is pedestrian-only zones, places where cars are excluded. There's too much built for cars in our cities. So we're by the Palmer House now. Got the K Jewelers here. In the detailing of the Palmer House, you can see. Chris says that's a big blick. Yeah, it is. Definitely. So I think the Palmer House might still be closed, but still closed. Oh, we got ABC 7 up here. Hey, ABC 7. I'm also live. Good. How you guys doing? Take care. You too. All right. So this is the backside of the Palmer House. It's not much to look at when you're right up close to it, but it is definitely one of the most historic buildings in Chicago. And this is the back of the Louis Sullivan Center. Lauren says, you're live. Hey, I'm live. Everyone is live. And we're headed to Jewelers Row. This little stretch of Wabash Avenue, home to many different jewelry stores and jewelers. However, the Jewelers building is not in this district, believe it or not. So the elevated tracks along Wabash are what you see in front of you. And here is the landmark district sign for Jewelers Row. So landmark districts are most of the time a set of buildings that are protected from demolition or alterations. But the thing you have in a landmark district is not every building is a contributing property to the landmark district. Usually it'll list the ones that are part of it. This is Jiao Soup Dumplings to Go, one of my favorite restaurants. Shout out to Jiao. It is an offshoot of QXY Dumplings. It's a rare quiet moment on Wabash. Usually it's so loud here because of the trains passing through. You can see over here you have a list of the trains that are coming through, so you can catch brown, pink, orange, purple, brown. honorary Carson Peary Scott Way, former Chicago department store, and a reminder not to feed the pigeons. Why they gotta hate on the pigeons? This is the Hayworth building, designed by Burnham and Company at 29 East Madison. This is also a Chicago landmark. Beautiful display. Carvings on this building. Just felt another drop of rain. Nothing serious though. Tigress asked if I do a step tracker while doing my live tours. Yeah, I do. And when I do a super long tour, I post my steps on my Instagram story. So I'll probably do that again today. This is the Sullivan Center, also known as the Carson Peary Scott building. This is designed by Louis Sullivan, and this is one of the best examples of his design that you're gonna find. It's lovingly maintained. You can see all the Sullivan-esque carvings on the side, right in the iron. As you look up, you can see Chicago-style windows. Ground level is home to a Target, but keep in mind this was once a fancy entrance to a great department store. Not saying Target's not a great store, but clearly not up to the same levels. Such a beauty, honestly. Tim asked how do I feel about the Thompson Center. I feel like it should be rescued. It's up for sale right now, but was all this iron stamped or forged? I think it was forged, to be honest. Pine Rock says it's so sad that the store has gone. It's home to a Target now. It's still very lovely on the inside. Over across the way, you have another fine example of Chicago school architecture. And then a wider view of the Sullivan Center, which I'll get you an even better view in a second, as soon as I can cross here. Vortex Lee, here's the State Street Preacher. Okay, this is 7 West Madison. I'll give you a closer look really quickly. It's home to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. This is the Chicago building, designed by Holabird and Roche. Basis says I just passed you, LOL. give you a better, wider view of the Chicago building. So when this building was completed, it was seen as a glass skyscraper, because in those days you had mostly brick facades with smaller windows. And there's a nicer view, a wider view of the Sullivan Center. It's a huge building right at State and Madison. So since we're here at State and Madison, we may as well mention that this is the 0 point of the grid. So this is 0, 0 on the grid system. That's why you got 7 West Madison over here. That's why you got 1 North State over there, because this is the 0 point of the grid. You can see right here the compass, State and Madison. You can see the famous street signs. Fremschick says Target looks terrible in those windows. I agree. I absolutely agree with you. Here's an interesting little, I don't know if this is a bike rack or what, but it says State Street, that great street. A reference to the Frank Sinatra Chicago song, which kind of gets stuck in your head. It's definitely an earworm. And this is about the best, widest view you can get of the Sullivan Center. You can see the carvings, all the detailings. Like I said, it was once home to Carson Peary Scott department store. Today is Target, offices. I think the School of the Art Institute is also in there. Kyle says better than a Walmart store, but yeah, not great. Oh my God, if it were a Walmart, that would be a tragedy. There's the preacher across the way, spreading his message very passionately. Maria says, hey, hashtag Gusto Gang. Once again, Lewis, you're doing it great. Thank you, Maria. That's really nice of you to say. So if we have any Uniqlo fans in the house, like myself, this is their newest location in Chicago. The original location was on Michigan Avenue. Now this is the State Street location. Let's see, maybe I'll do a little window shopping. It's a nice French Revival building. Somewhat Art Deco, but it's very reminiscent of a lot of the buildings on Magnificent Mile. Bill says, I love Chi-Town. Chris says, Uniqlo fan, nice. So you have one of the newest additions to State Street shopping. It's Primark. I believe this is like an Irish H&M. And they just recently opened a few weeks ago. So you got like fast fashion over here. This was the former house of the Gap. Over here you have the Reliance building, which is considered the very first glass skyscraper. It was one of the first, if not the first, to use these giant plate glass windows. I highlighted this on my Chicago School architecture video. Victor says the best city. I'm with you there, Victor. There's a city hall in the back that we saw earlier in the background. The Reliance building now is home to a State Pineapple Hotel. Like I said, first glass skyscraper using plate glass windows. And this is definitely one of the icons on State Street. The Marshall Field and Company building. Today home to a Macy's. Marshall Field and Company is one of the iconic companies of Chicago. Marshall Field himself worked in this very building on a daily basis. He would actually walk up here from his home on Prairie Avenue. Would stop here, work a few hours, and then head over to the warehouse. Alonso Fine Art, what up? Eli, how you doing? Says you are the man in the best city in the world. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Famous clocks on the corner. We are at State and Washington. Margaret says this looks like a New York style bike rack. Okay. I highlighted Marshall Fields and Macy's on my Christmas video. We went to the Walnut Room. We checked out the window displays, which were really pretty this past year. And this is a classical revival building designed for Marshall Field and Company. There's Primark again, and that mural. Jamie says, nice to see the city getting busy again. I agree, Jamie. There's another super bus stop. It's the Marshall Field and Company gigantic plaques. If you want to see a reference, my hand is huge. That's about how big they are. Yes, Buddy Guy, Chicago blues legend. This mural is done by Cobra, who is a Brazilian artist, and he has several murals all around the city and around the world. A nice, beautiful close-up look at the clock. Right here at the corner, there's one on the other side of the State Street elevation. Block 37, this is where you had the McCarthy building that I mentioned earlier. The Italianate building that was a landmark, had its status revoked, and then was demolished. If you're interested in more of that story, I can talk about it one day on a live tour, the story of Block 37. So there are many entrances to this building, but obviously this one is the most grand. Right here on State Street in the center of the building. And there you have that plaque, Marshall Field and Company. Some ionic columns, and you have the landmark plaque right here. So Block 37 is basically like a mall right in the middle of the city. You can see the Reliance building off in the distance. Inside Block 37, you have a pedway entrance You have access to the red and blue lines and lots of stores, shopping. Got a movie theater. Got a food court, different restaurants, stuff like that. So this is where we're gonna have Chicago al fresco this summer. Like I said, for 12 Sundays this summer, this part of State Street will shut down to car traffic and will become a nice outdoor festival for the people. People over cars is what I say. It's another look at the entrance to Marshall Field. Considered the loveliest Chicago school department store building. We got the other clock over here. Take a look at the Nederlander Theater across the way. There you go, James M. Nederlander Theater. This was formerly known as the Oriental Theater, but they changed the name to Nederlander. It's really beautiful on the inside. It has a lot of motif from Asia and Middle East. Really nice theater too. You can visit during Open House Chicago. You can see on the LED screen it says Hope with the Chicago flag. The colors are off. It's actually designed like the Chicago flag. It's not all white like that. I don't know why it's not coming through though. Interesting. Alright, head back to State. What's up, Danielle? MR, the old-timey building to the right of the Nederlander. I need to find out more information on that one because I always wonder and then I always forget to look it up. But I'll get back to you on that one. This Macy's has all American flags here. I would think they should put some Chicago flags in there. Make it a little bit nicer. Ahead you see the Chicago Theater. Get this, it's officially now known as the Chicago Theater presented by Chase. Isn't that something? Elio from Brazil, what's up, dude? It's a nice wide shot of the Marshall Field and Company building. Huge, massive department store building, actually built in different sections like some of the other ones down here. It's still very beautiful to explore. I highly recommend going in there. We're getting close to Lake Street. You can see the northern east-west L tracks. can see the nice positive messages on the marquee. Brighter days are ahead. We miss you. We can't wait to be together again. Chicago Theater. Quite beautiful inside and out. Currently still closed. All the Broadway and Chicago theaters are closed at the moment. There's the Wit and the Jewelers Building. Elio says, do I intend to do meetings with your subscribers in the future? I'm thinking about it. Kyle says, any idea when it's opening up again? I have no idea. I need to look into that. This is one of the most iconic buildings in the entire city. Beautiful marquee, though it is not the original one. If you look at pictures, older pictures of this theater, you'll see it looks very different, but still similar. So they basically, I think they just made a new one based on the old design and then updated it. The Page Brothers building is right here. Another one of the oldest buildings in the Loop. Danielle asked if I ever been to NYC. Yeah, totally. Been there a few times. Got a cool sculpture here, and this is a little kind of dining area, chilling, can lounge here. It's called the Gateway to the Loop. This is hopefully we get more of these around the city. There's some pigeons eating some snacks. Marina City, designed by Bertrand Goldberg, is up ahead. Technically, that's in River North. And we're approaching Wacker. Now, officially, the north border of the Loop is not Wacker, but the river. That's what splits up the Loop and the near north side. Gorgeous view up ahead of us. Kyle says, love me some Marina City Tower. Same here. I would love to take an indoor tour one day of that building. Or one of them, since it's two. We're in front of 35 East Wacker, which is the Jewelers Building. And I'll have to cross the street to give you a better view of this one. What's up, Chris? I was thinking about moving to Chicago. It's a big decision, but depending on you know, your lifestyle, it might be the right one for you.
I just want to sit there.
All right, so gonna go back here and get a nice view, or a nicer view of the Jewelers building. So this is the Jewelers building, 35 East Wacker. This building was completed in 1927 and designed by Giaver and Dinkelberg. It is a neoclassical building. Very, very lovely. Couple more drops of rain. Hopefully it won't get too bad. This is the 17th Church of Christ Scientists. It's a really nice brutalist building designed by like an upside down subwoofer. Got Morton Steakhouse, nice old school steakhouse, classic Chicago joint, good customer service. And they take your picture too, which is kind of dope. This is the Chicago Motor Club building. This is another Art Deco building. We've seen a bunch today. This is now a Hampton Inn. Next door, look, I got a brand new skyscraper coming up. Louis X Noodles says I live by Midway. There's the Carbide and Carbon building, bought out by some company called Hendry. So they're doing some restoration, renovation. It is a Chicago landmark, so there are severe limitations on what they can and can't do. What up, Stoof? That rain is starting to come down a little bit more steady, but so far we're good. It's a quite cloudy day. Alonzo says Pendry is a hotel. Yeah, I figured. They're definitely not gonna change the name in my eyes, even though they'll try to. Oliver says, thank you, best tour ever. Thank you, I'm glad to hear that.
You said that, I'm like, okay, fine.
This is the Carbide and Carbon building. Another Art Deco masterpiece designed by the Burnham Brothers. We can't get a great view from there, but if I move a little bit south, Otto, what up? Walking as usual, yes. So there's an Art Deco building in New York called the Radiator Building. I think it kind of gives me a similar vibe as this one as far as the colors go, and it's also has a lot of Art Deco design to it. Premchik, good to see you again. Thank you. Megan asked if it's getting humid back. Yes. Frank says my neck would hurt from staring up and admiring those lovely buildings. This is a shelter area, so I might stay under here for a minute and see what the rain situation is like. We're very close to La Millennium Park. El Parque del Milenio. A lot of buses come up and down Michigan. There's a skateboarder. Tell me why it's been raining in Chicago so much lately. What's up, Carmen? I don't understand. This isn't Seattle. There's that Nando's. I can smell that chicken. We're headed south on Michigan Avenue, once known as Michigan Boulevard. The wind is picking up a little bit. Alright, well that rain is picking up. I think this is a good time to stop the tour. I hope